50 wives and had 108 children in just a few years because he accidentally traveled to the Doki continent and fought fear with an extraordinary talent. He broke through the 8th level of Doki at the age of 10. He became the greatest genius of the Netter family. By the time he was 15 years old, his strength had reached the level of a 9-star fighter, which made him one of the best among the younger generation of the Einon sect and a great master. However, as a time traveler, he knew very well that within a few years, the child of destiny named Shai would completely destroy the sect he was currently in. Just as Chun Feiji was worried about the future and carefully thinking about solutions, suddenly the system signals rang out. Your religion has been discovered to have no offspring. Please get married and have children as soon as possible to expand your family. It turns out that as long as you have offspring, the system will grant you advanced heavenly skills and various elixirs, old soul bodies, and more. The more children you have, the greater the reward. And so Chun Feng began planning to make the most of the system. His first target was his younger sister, Nalanran. The two already had feelings for each other, and it was a natural progression. At this time, Chun Feng slowly sat up. He had suffered a slight injury during training 3 days ago. He was fine now, but he had to pretend to be weak in front of his younger sister. Only in this way would his younger sister feel sorry for him and come to take care of him all day. When he turned his gaze, he saw a white figure heading into the courtyard. He quickly lay down again after not long. Long, light steps approached, and the figure entered the room. The person who had arrived was wearing a moon-white robe. A dull silver belt was tightened at the waist that perfectly defined her slender figure. Her skin was as white as cream, and her beauty shone with a touch of nobility. It was none other than his younger sister, Nalanran. "Brother, how are you today?" the girl asked softly. She walked to the side of the bed, carrying a delicate lunch box in her hand. Ashenfan smiled faintly. In response, a light set emanated from the room. His nose caused hidden ripples in his heart. Kneeling opened the lunch box, and a fragrant scent filled her nose. This chicken soup is the Yunnan Mountain specialty chicken that she ordered from Deccan. It is incredibly nutritious. She put the soup in her bowl. A hint of pride crossed her pretty face. Junior sister became more virtuous. Sheen Fender was so happy with the scent of perfume that he praised her with a smile. Nalanran lowered her head shyly, and her cheeks blushed. "You like it? I can do that for you every day." While she was talking, she picked up a spoonful of chicken soup, gently blew on it, and carefully brought it to Qin Feng's mouth under Inuan's gentle care. Qin Feng drank the entire bowl of chicken soup in one gulp and felt extremely relieved. He looked at the delicate girl in front of him, who was carefully wiping the corner of his mouth. His heart moved slightly, and he couldn't help but extend his hand and hold Lan's face in her slender and soft hand. Beautiful Yanran blushed and looked at him in amazement. "Yanran, I have been through a lot during this time." "Thank you." Chanfen spoke calmly, looking into her clear eyes, which were full of seriousness and tenderness. The moment she looked at him, Yanran's heart jumped. She answered calmly, "Brother, this is what I should do." But she couldn't help but finish in her heart, "Brother, why are you acting so strangely today? Yanran is marrying me before she can even think." After activating the system, Chun Fiend made his long-awaited proposal. Fertility, he has decided to have his first child soon. The storyline where Nilan Anring goes to Shaha's family, the engagement is not far away, time is running out, and his anxiety is growing here. Nilan Noran was stunned Was this a marriage proposal? When she realized what was happening, a wave of unprecedented happiness swept over her, almost making her forget to breathe. Wasn't this the scene she had been dreaming of? Marrying me? Chun Fun became anxious as she remained silent. Could it be that I have? She misunderstood. She didn't mean that. Ningran lowered her head in shame. Her face flushed as she responded softly. Her voice was soft like the buzzing of a mosquito, but it was heard clearly by Shifan. She agreed that Sheena Fun was very happy. His chest was immediately filled with joy, so much so that he forgot that he was still recovering from his injuries. He sat up in bed. "Brother, you are injured," Alandran shouted in surprise. "It's okay now." Chan shook above his head, and his eyes focused on her and whispered, "Amran, do you know that today is the happiest day of my life, because my beloved younger sister has agreed to marry me?" Hearing these words of true love, Nalan Amran softened. Her eyes filled with misty tenderness. "My elder brother, I am also very happy." Shinfun smiled. This younger sister was actually the easiest to win. They were very compatible this time, and there was no pressure at all. He was still holding Ninran's hand and lowered his head to kiss her gently. Nalan Amran closed her eyes shyly. Despite her shyness, she did not hide. The sweet feeling spread like tides in her heart. Just as she was intoxicated by the kindness of the sudden morning breeze, she screamed in surprise. She was gently picked up by Jean Fong in a standard princess hug. "Brother, what are you going to do?" She unconsciously put her arms around Shanfa's neck and asked in a gentle voice. Her ears were red and her heartbeat quickened. Tashin Fun looked at the shy girl in his arms and laughed inwardly. "Do I need to ask? Of course, it comes down to it. By having a child." In the past, Nalandran had always given people the image of a proud and aloof aristocratic lady, but now in his arms, she was like a little white rabbit who allowed him to bully her. So sensitive that it made people feel pity. Shinfeng embraced her in his arms and walked towards the bed. Nirwan's heart was beating like a drum. She finally realized what he was up to. The moment she gently placed her on the bed, her face flushed with embarrassment. Then Sun Fong leaned down and kissed her lovingly. And conviction. After half an hour, a woman dressed in white appeared outside the courtyard of the morning press. "I wonder how the recovery from phlegmatic injuries is going. I haven't gone to see him for the past few days because I've been dealing with some trivial matters. He has no grudge against me." She looked out into the quiet courtyard, thinking about her exceptionally talented student. A slight smile appeared on her beautiful face. She was naturally happy to have such a talented student. She was wearing a long white dress. Simple, her figure was graceful and elegant. Her natural charm was complete. Her long black hair was tied high. A phoenix hairpin was inserted diagonally. Her face was calm and graceful, exuding the air of nobility. She was none other than Qin Fenda's current teacher. Yu Yun was the leader of the Ilian sect. Because of Qin Fen's extraordinary talent, Yu Yun had always loved him, even after he secretly decided to hand over the position of sect leader to him after learning of Qin Fen's injury. Despite her busy schedule recently, she still took time to visit him. What was that sound? Just as she opened the courtyard door, her eyebrows frowned slightly. Could it be that having a fungal infection was worse than not? This was clearly Yinran's voice. They actually had a very good relationship as brothers and sisters. Since Fund Air was injured this time, it was reasonable for her to come and take care of him. Enin felt relieved and headed to Qingfan's room. Why did she raise her hand and push the door open? Your teacher was dragged here. To see you before she could finish her words, the smile on her face froze. The teacher came out from inside, shouting Chun Feng's scream of instant death. You traitor! How dare you be so impudent in broad daylight? After a moment of hesitation, the roar of anger echoed in the quiet courtyard. Yuyun sat in the pavilion, her face frowning. Her gaze was cold as she looked at the kneeling boy and girl. If you looked closely, you could see a slight blush on her cold face, and her eyes were a little evasive. Chun Feng and Tu Ran looked in a state of extreme disarray. Their hair was disheveled, and their clothes were in disarray. The beautiful Ran was red and ignorant. He looked shy, but her eyes were shining with love that could not be hidden. When she looked at Chiffon, I know that I am wrong and I ask you for forgiveness, sir. Chiffon spoke quickly, asking for forgiveness. Yonan looked at the student in front of her, feeling angry and ashamed. Her most valuable student had done something ridiculous in broad daylight, and she had caught him red-handed. She felt Enyun's cheeks burn when she thought of the previous scene. Even though she had never experienced the world before, she had lived for many years and naturally understood what the two disciples in the room had done. Your fair master asked you to recuperate in the mansion. This is how you do it. Enyun's anger was still there, and her tone became harsher. 3 days ago, Shafeng was injured while practicing combat skills and ordered him to rest for a few days. She came, especially for today's visit, just to face such a shameful scene. She still couldn't calm down after seeing this scene. Chun Fen looked at the frowning Enyun, feeling a bout of depression. What the hell is going on? Didn't the teacher come at a very bad time? The system must have despised him. The teacher ran away. It's all my fault. I couldn't help myself. I promise I won't do this again in broad daylight. After a moment of silence, Chun Fen took over, taking the initiative to admit his mistake and take responsibility. Since his younger sister was ready to have a child of his, how could he allow color to be cast on her? He understood Yuan's personality and knew that she admired those who dared to take responsibility. Perhaps this step was exactly what he wanted. As expected, hearing Chan calm down, Yunan's facial expression became a little softer, but strange feelings appeared in her eyes. Not doing this in broad daylight. Does that mean we can do it at night even though she has not experienced relationships? Humanity before, the experience and common sense accumulated from years of practice were enough to make her understand that if young people got mixed up in this matter, it would easily damage their foundation and be detrimental to their future. As for Tua Chuan Feng, she considered him her successor. In the future, the entire Yinluan sect would be handed over to him. Naturally, she did not want him to ruin his future because of his momentary greed. She wanted to scold him strongly, but she hesitated. Was it? She interfered a lot after all the matters between men and women were consensual, and as a matter of knowledge, intervening too deeply might be inappropriate. It is natural that Chun Fengyi and Anlin Ran did not know what she was thinking at that moment. Nolani Nan looked at Chief as she took everything for herself, and her admiration for him increased more and more. It is wonderful that my older brother is here. At first, she felt remorse because she was arrested. She was beaten by the teacher, but now she no longer felt any remorse. Even if she had the chance again, she would still choose Chun Feng without hesitation. He even preemptively agreed to his previous outrageous proposal. Have your wounds been healed? Yunnan finally spoke in silence. Her voice was calm but tinged with worry. Thanks to my younger sister's meticulous care, I'm fine now. Chun Feng answered respectfully, even though his injuries had long since healed. I have taken advantage of this opportunity over the days. The last few, fortunately, I succeeded, but I'm not sure if my shots were accurate enough. Nelia Ninran was shocked when she heard this, and her gaze turned fixed. Her tone was gentle. Nelian takes really good care of you. She even takes care of you in bed. How could she not be good? Nayland Ren was very embarrassed to look up. Her face turned red. While she didn't regret it, this was her first time being caught red-handed by her teacher, Kan. It's really embarrassing. Since your wounds have healed, you will resume your training in the mountains tomorrow. You have been practicing the Thunderbolt Spear technique for some time now, and your teacher will personally select you tomorrow. In the end, Yinyan chose not to pursue the case too much. It was understandable for young men to make mistakes. These are her two most valued disciples. I naturally chose to forgive them. If she pressed too hard, she was afraid her dear disciple Jonathan wouldn't be able to handle this. Don't worry, oh. Master, I have been training hard for several days, and my spear skills have improved. I will definitely not disappoint you. Chufan felt relieved. If Een continued to ask, he would feel embarrassed. Here is Een or Ma in his head, is completely satisfied with his performance. The crossover competition will be held in a month. Your master hopes that you will focus on your training and strive to reach the top. The same goes for Yimran. It is best not to see each other as much as possible. During this period of time, to avoid aggravation, she looked at them, and her tone was one of Store or Ma Chun Fong, calm and calm. Een was running so embarrassed that he could not look up. Master, please rest assured, thanks to my archery skills, I will definitely achieve my mission. Chun Feng was incredibly confident about this competition, even though his proficiency was not considered top tier on the Duchy continent. Within the Enlan sect, he was invincible. Practically hands in pockets. Well, if you can win the tournament, you can submit a request to your master, and your master will do his best to please him or Maine. He nodded his head in satisfaction. Over the years, Chief had never let him down upon hearing this. Isvid's eyes moved slightly. He looked at Yuyun secretly, but he couldn't help but wonder if the teacher would be able to help him conceive a child. Since the fertility system was activated, his mind had been filled with thoughts about having children. The teacher was very beautiful, and had not yet married. He can't help but have some inappropriate thoughts. Of course, how could he dare to say that out loud? Otherwise, even if he has value, he will be expelled from school. The student thanks you, sir. He suppressed his thoughts and remained respectful. Take care of yourself too, or Mayan shook his head gently and turned around to leave. But after taking a few steps, she suddenly turned around and her eyes fell on Lanning Newell. She frowned slightly. Master Nuren remembers that you have a connection that still exists. Yinran, who was feeling relieved, suddenly turned pale and looked at Shun Feiying in a panicked state. Qi Fun smiled at her gently and shook his head gently, indicating that she could be reassured. Then she whispered, "Yes, master, because you and my elder brother. In case of love, this marriage should be annulled as soon as possible. I will personally officiate your wedding. I have heard about this matter for a long time. I was never optimistic about his fiancée, Hinron, who is good for nothing. But now that things have come to this point, I have no choice but to cancel the engagement." The disciple thanks you, sir. Upon hearing this, our eyebrows lit up for Ninran. Chapter 4. I will become a father. After the reunion is gone, Ninran lowered the engagement. She looked at Chun Feng with a guilty look on her face, and her tone was apologetic. Less than 6 months after joining the Yun sect, she had already developed feelings for her elders. This love was buried deep in her heart. It became deeper and deeper. She had always told herself that she would marry Xinfeng, but what pleased her was that the engagement was already a source of uncertainty. Compared to the handsome and talented older brother who came before her, her legendary suitor who was no match for anyone, it was nothing. Nolani Nanran was keeping this matter a secret for fear that her older brother would be upset if he found out. She had originally planned to quietly ask her teacher for help in ending the engagement, but she did not expect that Yinyan would bring up this matter in front of Chiffon. Fortunately, it seemed that Chun Feng did not take the matter seriously. Chun Fengyu looked at his younger sister, who lowered her head without any emotion in his heart. Only a slight smile at the end. Ultimately, she can't be blamed for this matter. If there is anyone responsible for this, it can only be the old man from the island family who insisted on this arranged marriage. He thought to himself, what is just an engagement? Even if he gets married, he won't necessarily care. After all, many things in this world are only about getting what she wants. After hearing the words of her older brother, who accuses Iran of spying, she finally exhaled and hurriedly promised to break off the engagement as soon as possible. Tashin thought. Feng paused for a moment before suggesting that he handle the matter personally. After all, it was not appropriate for the girl to end her engagement alone. He also knew that if the matter was not handled properly, it might lead to trouble. After all, the young man named Xiaoya was no ordinary person. Zhanu Fang was greatly influenced by the name Xiyuan. The son of destiny was filled with luck and possessed countless opportunities. Even though he now possessed a system, he did not want to become an enemy to such a being. He concluded that he possessed many. Children are a system of many blessings, and this means that he can become stronger once he has children. There will be no need to go against others. Abusing a child of fortune will only hinder his progress. So, Chun Feng decided to personally travel to Wutan City and sever ties with the Sham family. He tried to handle the matter gently without aggravating the conflict or arousing resentment. As long as they could avoid the so-called 3-year agreement, everything would be fine. Nail Dinran was deeply touched by his concern for her. She asked calmly what would happen if he wanted to. They refused to break off the engagement. He smiled and said that he would take action himself when the time came. He told her to wait for the good news. This certainty had completely affected Nail Dinran's confidence. She looked at her older brother. Her eyes were filled with tenderness. Meeting a man like him was the greatest luck in her life. She would not say anything else. She simply leaned into Xinfeng's arm and closed her eyes gently. Chun Feng hugged her slender waist and said in a low and gentle voice that since she is his woman, he will take care of everything from now on. A warm feeling filled Naliran's heart, and she immersed herself in the sweet atmosphere. At that moment, she whispered softly once again, expressing her affection and love. The next morning, Chun Feng crawled out of the girl's warm and soft embrace. Although he was reluctant to leave, he knew that the teacher was strict and that he would be punished if he did. He hurried to the back of the mountain and saw Yunyan already waiting in the forest wearing flowing white. She looked exquisite and light like an immortal. Her long black hair was tied high. She seemed to blend in with the cold and noble world. But it was impossible to look away. The spear shone like lightning, and her voice cut through the wind and resonated continuously, so that there was a slight explosion in the air. The spear was like thunder, full of power. After a moment, he stopped the spear and asked Yunyan for advice respectfully, or Ma Yunyan approvingly, and praised the great progress he had made since last time as a Dong. Her vision was naturally exceptional. While she was not particularly adept at using spears, guiding a 9-star practitioner was not difficult. For her, after a few short comments, Yunyan let him go. Sun Fong bowed and left, looking back and sighing inwardly. The teacher's aura was truly irresistible. 3 days passed in a flash. Perhaps Yunyan's words that day had an effect, because Nilanran did not come to see him again. Chan felt a little empty. After all this, they had only tasted the sweetness, but they were forced to separate. It was inevitable that he would feel a little lost. He thought that I should forget about it. To train, instead of focusing on random thoughts, it would be better to focus on improving my strength. So I took out a spear and practiced the thunderbolt spear technique again, hoping to use the training to distract him. At this moment, suddenly a familiar poetry sound rang in his mind, and the system's voice was clear and exciting. The host congratulated the host on our successful pregnancy, Adinran. I received a system gift package. The reward for the first pregnancy is doubled. I received a wonderful gift package. Please keep up the good work. Host Chuanfu was stunned for a moment, then he became completely excited. Natural pregnancy doesn't take half a month, but this is a fantasy world with systematic tests, so it's different naturally. I won the show. He muttered to himself, his face full of joy. I'm going to become a father. He almost laughed out loud at the thought of it. His efforts that night would not be in vain. He did his best to get Nile Dinnan pregnant. Now it's as if everything is paid off. Chanfen sighed secretly inside. It's certain that all the hard work has gone wrong. It paid off with the birth of the child. There was a reward. This system truly understood the incentives. He suppressed his enthusiasm and began to check the reward that the system had given him. After all, for him, each package of the system's gifts was the key to improving his strength. At this moment, Chan Feng's heart soared with unprecedented motivation. He knew that his true ascension had just begun. The road ahead might not be peaceful, but he was no longer afraid. Because now, he was not only a genius of the Dioki continent, but also a man of protected destiny. Through the system, Chapter 5, the wonderful gift package. Siobhan whispered the matter in his mind. The system for opening the wonderful gift package. As soon as he finished speaking, the rapid voices of the system sounded in his mind. He immediately encouraged him. The rewards set by the system came one after another, each one of them enough to make the heartbeat accelerate and blood pressure rise. First was the 9-star Region Experience card, which grants combat power to a first-class warrior for a short period of time, lasting for the duration of an incense stick. Then came the advanced heavenly grade Kayan technique and the essence swallowing technique, which can devour the essence. Any form of energy has amazing results. Then came the Qin Xian mysterious treasure chest, which contains an independent small realm capable of independently absorbing external energy. The fourth reward is called the Valantin body, which can greatly enhance physical strength and unleash the potential of a powerful body like that of a divine beast. The last is the basic puppet pill that can make creatures below the level of the Do region obey orders unconditionally after taking it, and they can also retain their memories. This set of punches came directly. It made Chun Feng swallow down the feeling that this package of gifts was simply the existence of an ancient cheating system. I was so arrogant. Chun Feng silently sighed in his heart. He quickly entered the system space and began to check the specific descriptions of this reward one by one. His first focus was on the 9-star region experience card, which allowed him to unleash his ultimate combat power in a suitably short period of time. For emergency explosions, the explanation of the essence swallowing technique made his eyes widen. This heavenly technique could actually devour any form of energy, including the beginning energy of heaven and earth, magic cores, medicinal pills. Simply anything that contained energy could be devoured and turned into cultivation. It was simply the perpetual motion god of the cultivation world. Chiron was filled with excitement and immediately retrieved the essence swallowing technique. Information flowed into his mind like water and roots, causing him extreme pain in his head. He gritted his teeth and continued to quickly absorb and understand the full content of the technique. He began to silently absorb this basic information in his mind. After learning this, he became even more amazed. The extent of this technique was far beyond his imagination. In the future, whether it was killing monsters, finding treasures, refining elixirs, brewing medicines, or plundering strange flames, he could use its servants, all of it. This was just the beginning of the system. The reward, if he had actually waited until the child was born, wouldn't the reward increase every time? He was secretly excited. Then he extracted a body into the dragon. Unlike the essence swallowing technique, which affected his soul, this reinforcement completely reshaped his physical body. In the next moment, the torn apart pain swept through his body. He felt as if he was being shattered and reassembled from the inside out. The pain almost made him faint, but surprisingly, no matter how much pain he felt, his consciousness remained clear. He could clearly feel his body taking shape inch by inch. When it was over, Chun Feng was sweating profusely, but he didn't feel tired at all. Instead, he felt a surge of intense power inside him. He clenched his fists, and you could even hear a faint crashing sound from his bones. Every inch of his muscles was pulsing with power. Now with just my physical strength, maybe I could defeat his former self. Chun Feng marveled, feeling the potential of his entire body being awakened. He knew that this was it. Just the initial awakening of his dragon elephant body. If he continued to cultivate it using bodybuilding techniques, its strength would become even more terrifying. At that point, one punch would be enough to shatter mountains and split rocks. This was a true divine body, capable of confronting demonic beasts face to face. In his excitement, he simply bent down, pushed Yubis, and took a breath in one breath without taking a breath. Shervan looked at his condition and smiled a little obscene smile. This was his physical strength and ability. The endurance is simply astonishing. He couldn't help but think of some improper uses. He suppressed the distracting thoughts in his mind. He continued to extract the Shinken treasure chest from the reward system. A purple light flashed and a purple box with ancient inscriptions appeared in his hand. Rich spiritual energy emanated from its surface. The system prompted him to identify the owner through a drop of blood. Chun Feng did so. The box quickly turned into a purple light and sank into his palm. He looked down in fury. A pale purple mark appeared on the palm of his hand. The mini treasure chest of the Qinchuan mark. As the identification of the master was completed, new information flooded his mind with a thought. He had disappeared from the place. In the next second, he found himself in a square shrouded in gray mist. Everything around him was bleak and empty. Was this the small world inside? The Qin Xian marked treasure chest. He looked around, feeling surprised and excited. The Dioki continent also contains space rings, but it cannot accommodate living beings. However, the Qin Xian treasure chest is different. It not only allows people to enter, but even to cultivate inside it. It has made it a mobile cultivation cave. More importantly, this small world can absorb the energy of heaven and earth independently, and over time it will become a sacred place for cultivation rich in spiritual energy. Chapter 6. Chun Feng, I just want to give them a home. Chun Feng stood in the small world inside the Qin Xian treasure chest, looking at the square-sized space with a satisfied smile on his face. This was the place as his ideal secret base, a place where he can hide his lover and avoid danger without anyone noticing. He had already decided to plan this place carefully and turn it into his own secret base. The next second, an idea came to his mind, and he immediately returned to the real world, appearing again in his original location as if he had never left. He noticed the changes in the environment and understood it. After entering the Chinkin treasure chest, the situation he would return to would be the same as before. After confirming this feature, he did not think about it much. He continued to mobilize the system to extract the puppet pill. With a wave of spatial fluctuations, a black pill fell into his palm, carrying a hint of coldness and a mysterious aura. He was a little surprised. This just one pill could make a being under the Douyu region subservient. This was unbelievable. He sighed as he analyzed his purpose. If he was lucky, he could even directly control the Duhuan power plant and use it to his own advantage. In the Jiama Empire, warriors were at the level of Dawen was practically free to walk sideways, and the fact that a small pill was given so casually by the regime that this was possible was even more bizarre than the legendary elixir of the 7th grade. Qin Feng couldn't help but suspect that this thing wasn't even native to the Dwichi continent otherwise with its amazing effects. How can it remain unknown to this extent? He found a jade glass. The elixir was carefully placed inside, and then stored directly in the small world inside the Qin Chun treasure chest. After all, this thing was very expensive, and he would never waste it on a small person except in critical moments. After doing all this, Chun Fen remembered the final reward for collecting the 9-star region experience card. As soon as he finished speaking, a golden card appeared in front of him, emitting a strong feeling of pressure and nobility. He extended his hand to take it as he looked at the card, but he still felt a little doubt. Could this really allow him to reach the top level and carry out combat power in a very short time zone? But when he thought about the reliability of the system products, he put his concerns aside. However, this disposable item should not be used lightly. Winner for him at this point. All of his super gift pack rewards have finally been unlocked. The essence swallowing technique can help him improve his cultivation quickly, and the Shinken Manhwa treasure chest provides a safe and storage space. The dragon elephant body gave him a strong body and unlimited endurance, while his world pill allowed him to build personal strength quickly. The 9-star region's experience card was like a crucial turning point. It was every one of them. Among them was a divine relic that defied all odds and would cause a bloodbath in any sect. Xenophone was incredibly satisfied. This reward had been obtained just because Nama Henram could get pregnant. He couldn't contain his excitement at the thought that the system would offer such a huge reward for every additional child he had. This system was truly addictive. Chun Feng muttered to himself, his eyes shining with desire for his next target. But a problem also arose. Except for Lin, he had yet to find a candidate. Secondly, suddenly a beautiful image appeared in his mind. It was his beloved teacher, Nin. But as soon as this thought came to his mind, he slapped himself in the face, trying to quickly hide the thought. Teacher, this will not work. You cannot do this. He shook his head, a look of struggle and clarity on his face. Then another familiar figure appeared in his mind. A charming and attractive woman with a charming look. She was Yafi, the granddaughter of the head of the Meteor family and his lover. To Xuanfen in childhood, as the grandson of the second eldest of the family, Chun Fenjufei already had a close relationship. Besides his exceptional talent and striking appearance, Yafei had a long love for him. 3 years ago, Yafei was transferred to Wutan City to manage the Dar Masadat Nettle branch. Before leaving, she specially came to Shep to say goodbye. Brother's phone. Remember to wait for my return. You said you would marry me when I was young. These words still remain. It was deeply engraved in Safin's memory. Whenever he thought about them, ripples of affection always appeared in his heart. It had been 3 years since he left Yaf. I wondered how she was now. Thinking about this matter made Siobhan suddenly become dangerous. He was different now, and the little boy was no longer safe with the system. He had the confidence to keep more beauties in the capital to fulfill the promises he had made. Moreover, the rules of the system were very clear. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to marry more and have children. More children have power with a beautiful woman as well. This is a win-win situation. Whoever refuses to look out the window will have a cheerful smile on his face. In this case, I will take the opportunity to end the engagement and go to see Sister Yafi. After 3 years of not seeing each other, he was longing to know if the woman who had once declared her love for him was still keeping her promise. A man's word is his bond. This time, he didn't just want to end the engagement, nail iron, but also to reiterate the vows he made in his youth. Chapter 7, A Request. Image devouring demonic core. Early the next morning, Chun Fei appeared in front of an elegant courtyard at the top of the main peak of the inn sect. Hearing a familiar voice, opened the daba and smiled, welcomed Chiffend inside. She had just gotten out of bed. She was wearing a pale pink nightgown that exuded a soft, lazy air. A light body scent filled her nose. Chun's nose twitched, and he refuted slightly. The scent made his heart beat a little faster. He quickly found a seat inside the room while Yun sat. Her loose pajamas swung slightly with her movements, and the amber necklace hanging from her slender neck waved faintly in the sunlight. Chu Nafiam glanced up and quickly lowered his head. He seemed to be doing the right thing, but on the inside, he started cursing in silence. Fei's dragon body was the reason. Obviously, I had never had such evil thoughts before, but now even the teacher was unable to control himself. He almost didn't notice Yunyan anything unusual, but he asked quietly, "Since you came to see me early in the morning, what's the matter?" She brought a plate of snacks to the table and said gently, "You won't have breakfast yet. Come and try the osmanthus cake I made, or what?" Shenfun nodded in response. Then he took the snack and took a bite. It was fragrant and soft. Show of craftsmanship. It was really good. He calmed his mind. Then he looked up and said, "Oh, Master, do you have any additional magic nuclei?" Upon hearing this question, Yunyan was a little surprised. Then he sat down and asked calmly, "What do you want the magic nuclei for?" When she sat down, Chiha's collar opened slightly, and caught a glimpse of Qin Fanka. He quickly lowered his head in fear. He kept telling himself, "Don't look, don't think, or something will happen sooner or later." He wanted to improve some elixirs and asked Big Brother Lu for help, but he was suffering from a shortage of ingredients. The Big Brother Lu that he was referring to was who? Alchemist Lu Lin is a major figure in the practice. Mia Sexoteen nodded and raised her hand. She took out some magic cores from her storage ring and placed them on the table. She said quietly, "Sir, I don't have a lot of magic cores here." "Take this first. I will get more if you need more." She was always particularly caring towards her Chun Fong, and she almost always agreed to his requests as long as they were not excessive. Chun Fan took a look at the magic cores on the table. Most of them were in rank 3 or higher, and there were even some rank 5, which were of great value. "That's enough. Thank you, master," he whispered and then stood up to leave. When Yun saw this, he laughed and stopped him, saying, "Why are you in such a hurry to eat more asman cakes?" She made a lot. While she was speaking, she raised her hand to pass the cake. Her collar slipped slightly as she did so. Shuinfu clenched his teeth and took the cake, afraid that he would accidentally look away again, so he simply averted his eyes away, pretending. Admiring the wall decorations, he suddenly pointed to a painting and asked the teacher who had painted that picture. The picture on the wall was Lianyun herself. It was painted with such exquisite detail that it seemed almost real. It was painted by Hulig, a famous painter from the imperial capital. Yun smiled lightly. It seemed that he did not care about the privacy of the painting. Chuanfang's heart moved, and he asked the teacher casually, "Can you give me this painting?" "What do you want from this painting?" He hurriedly explained. "I have been troubled in my cultivation recently. After thinking about it, I realized that it might be due to the teacher's lack of supervision. Master, you are very busy and cannot always be by my side. I would like to take the picture with me so that I can find peace and focus on my cultivation." After hearing this explanation, Yun's eyes became softer and a slight smile appeared on her face. "I am very happy that you can think of yourself. In this case, I will give you this painting." Chun Feng hurriedly thanked her and got up. He carefully hid the picture in his own little world, then said goodbye to Yun and left. When he stood up, he glanced subconsciously at the place where Yun was sitting. His expression suddenly changed, and he turned around quickly, almost running away from the room. This child is always reckless. Yamini watched him leave without closing the door until she shook her head, smiling, and stood up to close it. Returning to his room, Chuan Fan breathed a sigh of relief, calming his anxiety. Finally, they hung the picture carefully above the door. He then looked at the magic anew with a serious look in his eyes, with his teacher's image as a thought. He should be able to focus on his training without being distracted. He picked up a third-rate magic essence. His expression was a bit solemn. In fact, he did not want the magic essence to seek out Lu Ling for the sake of alchemy. The Sherfan and Lu Ling were always at odds, and because of Nail Landarin, their relationship was not particularly close. How could they cooperate in the field of alchemy? His real goal was to developing the newly acquired original swallowing technique. The demonic core is the most central energy crystal within Warcraft's body, imbued with a powerful and violent power that ordinary fighters simply cannot absorb directly. Although Wandel does not dare to refine it with force for fear of the energy's reaction, however, the original swallowing art is different. As a heavenly-level technique, it possesses powerful absorption and transformation capabilities, capable of converting the energy of the demonic core into cultivation. Of his own, Chun Feng sat on the bed, holding the magic essence in his palm. He took a deep breath and began to practice the original swallowing technique. When the technique was activated, a strange, devouring force came out from his palm, quickly enveloping the magic essence and allowing the energy to flow into it. This energy spread through his body, but was quickly tamed using the origin swallowing technique. It turned into a gentle breath that slowly flowed through him. Chun Fen closed his eyes tightly, holding his breath, and carefully concentrating, feeling the changes brought about by this force. The duchy inside him began to grow as if it were on fire, and it seemed that every meridian had been activated and began to transform softly. "This makes me feel really good," he whispered softly. A smile unconsciously curled at the corner of his mouth. He was obviously very satisfied with the results of swallowing the Yuandu. He immersed himself in cultivation with all his heart. Chapter 8 Breakthrough to the Martial Master. The room was dimly lit. John Feng sat on the bed with his legs crossed, the palms of his hands intertwined, holding a high-grade magic core. Third, when the essence swallowing technique was activated, a powerful devouring force shot out from the palm of his hands. The energy was violently absorbed into the magic core. This energy was then quickly filtered into Duki and flowed into his body. The time had passed. The energy inside the devil heart was being steadily devoured. While this power was extremely chaotic, it would have led to the destruction of most humans if they recklessly absorbed it under the suppression of the origin devouring technique. Chun Feng rose up, easily taming the violent energy and transforming it into gentle Duki. The energy flowed through his limbs and bones, eventually converging on his dantian. At this moment, Chun Feng was completely immersed in his practice and his mind was completely focused. Once immersed in cultivation, he completely lost himself in it, a testament to his steadfast self-reliance. Reaching the 9-star fighter realm at the age of number 15 is a testament not only to his exceptional talent but also to this crazy concentration. He had stayed awake for 3 days and 3 nights in a row to obtain a piece of equipment in the game, and now he was practicing the essence swallowing technique with the same dedication. The night fell quietly, and the fluctuations of the duce in the room gradually settled down. At this moment, a muffled sound came from Chuanfen's body, and his aura suddenly rose, accompanied by the familiar roar within his body. He slowly opened his eyes, an unimaginable smile on his face. In just one day, his cultivation unexpectedly developed from a 9-star fighter to a master. Fighting, he remembered that he had just obtained the 9-star realm half a month ago, and now he had broken through again. This speed was almost comparable to cheating. Chan Finja clenched his fists. The power surging within him made him extremely excited. Is this Dusher's strength, even though Dusher is still a low-level existence in the entire Duchy continent? It's really a completely different world from the regular Doge. Moreover, he is not even 16 years old yet. The road ahead was long, and he still had the system of fertility and blessing within him. As long as he worked hard, his growth would be amazingly fast. He took a deep breath and extended his right hand, and suddenly a wave of doki came out of his palm. Silver bugs spread along his arm, instantly condensing on his body in the form of a soft doki gauze. The silver light shimmered with the power of lightning. It was the distinctive defensive light of Dasher's strong shirt. This garment not only enhances the attack, but also speeds up the movement, giving more strength and flexibility. Chun Fudpei, watching his body covered in silver light, felt a wave of excitement and couldn't help but give a whistle to his mouth. The wind from his fist filled the air with sharp, piercing sounds. After activating a body in a dragon, his physical strength became far superior to his peers. With just a few punches, the air in the room shook. After a few rounds of punches, Chun Fan stopped. I felt indescribable anxiety. His feeling of not having a place to release his power almost drove him crazy, especially since he had a body in a dragon. His body was like a furnace full of energy, ready to explode at the slightest ignition. He couldn't help but remember that night with Nyla Dinran's mind was becoming increasingly dull. What a pity if Henran could come back again. Shanfan sighed. Ever since Yinyan caught them, Elonren had never come to his place again. That impulsive moment driven by bliss and intoxication. She completely lost her mind. But then Yinyan's warning calmed her thoughts completely. Kenenra had always been obedient ever since her teacher gave her an order. She would never disobey. It was unlikely that she would actively seek out Chun Feng again anytime soon. The thought of this matter made Chun Feng even more depressed. Once she had a taste for this kind of thing, it was difficult to give it up now. He was suddenly forced to stop. He felt even more anxious and upset. He subconsciously looked at the picture hanging above his bed. Yuni's smile was gentle, and her expression was realistic, as if she was right next to him. Chun Fen's heart moved, and that familiar anxiety began to creep in again. He shook his head quickly, forcing himself to calm down. I cannot continue like this. If I start thinking about this matter, I will go crazy. He gritted his teeth. He closed his eyes and let his thoughts return to calm. He had to calm himself. He had to find something to distract him. After a moment of silence, an idea suddenly came to Tashin Feng's mind. Yes, practice archery. He began to practice every move of the Thunderbolt spear in his mind. The spear shot out like thunder, its momentum like lightning, its power piercing through him. He imagined the spear dancing again and again. Its momentum gradually flowed. Each strike seemed to strike the scattered thoughts in his mind. Time passed quietly. Xenophon slowly opened his eyes and let out a long breath. He completely relaxed, and the annoyance he felt seemed to be truly working. He mumbled to himself. Only when he was completely immersed in cultivation could he truly find peace. Chun Fengyu looked at the picture on the wall and laughed softly. Master of Unity, who can help me focus on my cultivation. With that, he stopped. He walked out of the room. He always paid attention to cleanliness. After a long day of cultivation, his clothes were already wet with sweat. After washing off the day's fatigue and putting on clean clothes, he felt completely refreshed. Returning to his room, Chi felt refreshed and had unprecedented peace of mind. Cultivation in this case actually achieved double the result with half the effort. He sat on the bed and placed the magic kernel, which had not been completely absorbed, in the palm of his hand. After closing his eyes, Doki slowly squirted out. Soon he indulged. Once again in the cultivation world, outside, the moonlight was shining like water, and inside Duchi gently rushed. Xuanfa's shadow cast the silver light on the wall. He carried a feeling of determination and calm. That night, he did not think of anyone, just the flow of strength and desire to make a breakthrough. Chapter 9, Master, I really can't help you. Time passed quickly, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the room, Chun Fingju remained cross-legged on the sofa. His palms were intertwined, and he shed 3 tears. A magic core was hidden between his palms. Strands of energy were constantly flowing into his body, and the size of the magic core was visibly shrinking. This was indeed the second level of the third magic essence that Chun Feng had devoured. Suddenly a muffled sound came out from his body, and Duchi rushed through his meridians. His aura rose and his strength rose. A 3-star main dome opened his eyes, with a gleam of excitement in them. In just 7 days, he managed to break through 2 small worlds. If word of this cultivation speed spreads, it will definitely cause a huge commotion at this rate. I'm afraid I will soon reach the Crandom Master Realm. He muttered to himself, feeling the fighting spirit rising inside him. He smiled playfully. On his lips, Chan Fingju looked at Yunyan's photo on the side of the bed, his heart full of respect. Without his teacher's supervision, he would not have been able to cultivate with this much attention over the past 7 days. He was focusing on practicing the essence swallowing technique and the spear skill. His mind was free of all distractions. Whenever he felt a little tired, he would look at the photo and his heart would immediately calm down. So he bowed in front of the photo almost every day. These days, he thanked his teacher for his company one morning, and while Shifan was about to continue his training, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Fengwei began to look around, but did not see anyone. It's strange that I'm hallucinating. He looked at the picture. I wonder if it was just a hallucination from training for a very long time. But before he could think too much about it, he heard a sudden knock on the door, followed by the sound of Yun's finger. Open the door quickly. Master Chen Fun responded immediately, and quickly opened the door. Outside, Yun's finger, wearing white, emanated from her. An ethereal aura. Her long black hair flowed like a waterfall. Her face was cool and calm, carrying a hint of tenderness. She was like a pound of mountains, a sight worth seeing. Bomber, what are you doing in this room, sir? I called you several times, but you didn't answer. Teacher, I was training and I did not hear you. Please give me. Chun explained to Funda hurriedly, respectfully seeing him focusing on his training that I didn't notice. She nodded and entered the room. As soon as she entered the room, her eyebrows furrowed slightly. She smelled the scent. She gently sniffed the air and asked in confusion. She had not showered for a few days, right? Chun scratched his head embarrassingly. The teacher took a shower every day. He was known for his love of cleanliness. Maybe it's because I've been exercising for a very long time recently and doing a lot of exercise. To the point that I was sweating a lot, he laughed and muttered to himself. It seems that a body in a dragon cannot be cultivated casually, so I sweat more than others. You won't tell Ian anything else after hearing this, but she nodded slightly and took out a jade bottle from her ring and handed it over. Perhaps your cultivation is close to the neck of the bottle. The bottle of purple jade spiritual liquid can help you break through the martial master's realm. Her voice was tinged with worry. In her opinion, the Shin Fan had just consolidated his status as a 9-star fighter, and now was a crucial stage. This bottle of spiritual liquid was perfect for him. Thank you, Master Xuanfen. He took out the Ollie bottle. Even though he didn't tell her that he was already a 3-star, he didn't intend to explain too much. Anyway, this purple jade spiritual liquid was pure energy, which would also help him practice swallowing Master Gu. Rest assured, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Smile a little. Baker will never let me down. After she finished speaking, her eyes stumbled towards the picture hanging above the bed. She froze for a moment and crossed her eyes slightly. She wondered why she hung my teacher's picture above the bed. Her voice was a little embarrassed. After all, any woman would feel a little embarrassed when she saw her picture hanging next to the bed. And I don't dare be complacent. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have made such rapid progress. Upon hearing this, Yunna's expression softened greatly to even a hint of relief. So that's the way it is. I misunderstood you. She smiled calmly, and her eyes became kinder. Because this painting is useful to you, so just keep it. Don't harm him. She went to the side of the bed and extended her hand to pick up the picture. Just as she was about to help him arrange it, she suddenly noticed that there was a small stain on it. Wait. That's why. Sticky, she frowned. She took out a handkerchief from her chest and wiped it. It's strange that it won't work. Sunfan's heart almost jumped out of his throat. He forced himself to smile softly and turned towards the picture to avoid it. Maybe the sweat was splashed on the teacher. Let me take care of him. Second thought. Yanyan handed him the picture. Okay, I won't stop you from practicing anymore. Then she turned to leave. She waited for Sunfan. Suddenly he called for her. Yuna turned around and asked in confusion. Sunfan hesitated for a moment, and a flash of light appeared. The embarrassment on his face. Teacher, I can't help you anymore. Yun was in effect. Her expression immediately became complicated. He gritted his teeth and simply threw the towel into his mouth. Professor, can you please let my younger sister come to my house? The air immediately became quiet. Yun froze in place, hearing Qinfinner's words. Ninyun's initially calm expression froze immediately. The arrival of Leninran's 10-year-old class. Yunyun's calm expression instantly froze upon hearing Qinfinner's words. Even though she was not a very experienced woman, but she was an adult after all. She immediately realized what he meant. Her face flushed and her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly as she thought about it. This child is very bold to dare to say such words in front of her. A human's face should be your name from the mountain. Enyun's patience rose and fell a little. Feeling embarrassed and annoyed as a woman, she felt humiliated unconsciously. But when she was about to lose her temper, she saw Chan Femel's expression of uneasiness, oppression, and helplessness. She was shocked. For a moment, her anger slowly subsided. Yun was a gentle person who never acted impulsively. When she looked at the trainee she had personally raised, she fell into deep thought. Was she being too strict with him? Perhaps he had already reached a point where he became uncontrollable. She had never experienced sexual relations before, so of course she did not understand the feeling. But is there really such an obsession in this world? Yuyun did not understand and would never think about it before. She had been doing it since she was a child, and no one had ever tried it. But the pain at Chuanfan's words, her curiosity was aroused for the first time. After a moment of silence, she asked softly, "Is it really painful?" Chuan Feng looked at his embarrassed and serious expression. Although he was a little embarrassed, he nodded. "It's really difficult. Professor, can you help me?" Before he could finish his words, Maimon's face changed and her voice became a little colder. "How dare you?" A low shout carrying fat pressure made the air freeze a little, becoming more bold and bold. "How dare you make fun?" Minya stared at Chiffon, her breath trembling slightly. At that moment, the scene she had witnessed that day appeared in her mind, and she was immediately filled with shame and embarrassment. He asked her for help, and this did not seem like something a disciple should say. If Chun Feng was not her iron disciple, she was already going to teach him a lesson. How could the dignity of the leader of the Long Genes be violated in this way? John Fenry was also stunned. Then he smiled bitterly. "Teacher, I misunderstood you. I certainly did not mean that before I was able to finish my words." I interrupted him and explained to him sincerely. "I was just satisfied to ask you a favor and ask my younger sister to come to me. I did not mean to upset you." Yun Yun was understanding, and a blush of embarrassment spread across her face. It turned out that she had misunderstood. She coughed lightly and stared at him with a short calm. The next time, he spoke more directly and did not embarrass others. "Yes, disciple, I will be careful next time." Chun replied respectfully, but muttered secretly in his heart of obviously, it was you who felt anxious first. Yin Yin's face straightened and became a little more delicate. When she saw that he still looked sincere, she didn't know what to say. "Okay, so focus on your cultivation. Come back to me if you need anything." However, she turned around and was about to leave. She hurriedly asked Chun, "What about younger sister Yin Yin?" Yin Yin stopped silent for 2 seconds and then spoke calmly. "I'll go. But whether she's willing to come is up to her. I won't force her," after saying. She stared at him angrily and quickly left the room. Her heartbeat was faster than usual. This child was becoming more and more arrogant after leaving the courtyard. Union's face was still a bit hot. Dohan's strength had always been calm and self-controlled, but the conversation that was taking place just now had completely thrown her off balance. "Unfortunately, this kind of thing is very embarrassing for me considering their master," she finished quietly, but when she thought about Chinfan's pent-up frustration felt a pinch of hesitation. This kid had always been steadfast and self-disciplined, never doing anything reckless. If he truly became unable to control himself, it wasn't his fault. With that thought, she looked ahead and did a good deed. She would help him just this once. So she turned and left, heading towards Nilaninran's residence on the way. Her steps were a little unnatural, and her expression was complicated, but how could he tell the girl Yinran about this union? She bit her lips. The red one gently, her heart filled with shame, and dressed as a woman knew what this meant. If anyone else had made such a request, she would never have cared, but it had to be Chiffon. She had raised the child for many years, and watched him grow up, watching him grow from a talented young man into the pride of the sect. She couldn't bear to see him suffer. She thought of the stain she had seen and the scent she had smelled in his room that day. My face became hotter and neon. An idea crossed her mind, but she quickly choked it down. No, I couldn't even think about it. Could this child really be like that? She shook her head, trying to expel those inappropriate thoughts. This child had been really strange lately. He remembered Chunfin's behavior during this period. Her expression had become a bit solemn. It seemed that I had pushed him too hard. It made him feel depressed. She sighed. It's okay. Let's go see Yinra first. So, Een sighed quietly and turned around and headed towards Masking Ran. It was Chunfeng sitting alone in his room. I felt a mixture of emotions. How reckless he was. He rubbed his forehead. His face flushed as he remembered the scene. It was truly humiliating for such words to come out of his mouth. He hoped that Master would not be too angry. However, when he thought of Yunyun's words before she left, a wave of joy flowed into his heart. He actually agreed even though her tone was cold. She really wanted to go look for Anan. This touched Qin Feng's heart. The master was very good with me. He looked at the picture on the headboard and swore in his heart. Don't worry, I will protect you in the future and prevent you from making the same mistake in the original novel, Akian Imra and Bishwain once upon a time in the mountains of Warcraft. But he eventually fell in love and lived a lonely life. But now with him everything is different. He will not leave her alone or get hurt again. The night passed, and Sun Feng stayed inside, waiting from day to night. He never left. It seemed that Aninran would not come tonight. He sighed quietly and was about to pack his gear for exercise when he suddenly heard a soft sound outside. The door opened and a person dressed in white walked in. Before he could respond, the person quickly threw himself into my arms. Chonfener was taken aback. Then a look of surprise appeared on his face. At that moment, you finally smiled for the first time in a long time. You are finally here. Chapter 11 has finally been updated. Naylan Enran opened the door with a hint of worry in her eyes. Brother Teacher said, You have been injured. How is it? Is it dangerous? She quickly walked over to Chifin, her tone full of worry. I was surprised. Shivan slightly, and I immediately realized that the teacher seemed embarrassed to tell the truth and could only make up an excuse to convince Niran Din. He smiled gently and continued. Okay, I was indeed injured, but with you coming to see me, I am healing faster. As he spoke, he extended his hand and gently pulled Milan Din towards him. His expression was very gentle, but somewhat gentle. Amrin Din, and not seeing you for this period of time, made my heart hurt more than my wounds. It was half joking and half sincere to be looked at like that. Nolene Naren's beautiful face reddened and her voice became soft. Brother, it's not that I don't want to come, but didn't the teacher prevent us from meeting? Chonfun smiled, but his eyes became more and more fiery. I don't care that you're here today, so don't rush to leave. There was a little domineering in his look, as if he had prepared it in advance. I was startled because Amrin then realized that there was a mistake, brother. You don't look like an injured person. Chun Feni pretended to be innocent. If not, how can I see you? Nolan Ram was a little angry, but it was also a little amusing that you even lied to the teacher. I missed you so much, Chen Fan said softly. At that moment, the barrier between them seemed to have completely melted. The atmosphere gradually became pleasant. The only sound in the room was the sound of their breathing. A gentle breeze sounded outside. Candlelight was softly receding. The night was quiet, and affection spread in silence. The next day, morning light streamed through the window grill into the room. They leaned against the morning breeze, and her face was slightly flushed. A hint of embarrassment appeared on her face. Her face shone. Fei Anren whispered, "Have you been feeling unwell lately?" The sound of his voice was gentle, and his expression was very gentle. Although he did not understand the pregnancy, he was already secretly thinking about it. The reward system requires the presence of offspring, and since Anren was the first, he paid special attention. "Naturally, I do not feel well." Anren shook her head in a little confusion. To which Funda sighed happily. "It seems as if it is still early, so it won't happen soon," but he mentioned himself too. From now on, he could no longer indulge in life's pleasures. He had to take care of her health. After all, if she was pregnant, it would be his first child. And ran. "If you feel unwell in the future, you must tell me immediately," he urged, his voice full of genuine concern. Or Malin ran with his head and said with a smile, "My brother, worry. I will take good care of myself." Her innocent eyes touched Shun Feng's heart. At that moment, he felt an unprecedented sense of responsibility. If this child could be born, it would be safe. How would it be? Wonderful, he thought at the same time, before the sunlight illuminated the entire room. Nolani Nanran stood up and prepared to leave. "Brother, I must go now. If anyone sees me and tell the teacher, it will be annoying," she said as she adjusted her robe. A wavering look on her face. They sighed. The morning breezed softly. "I wish I could keep you a little longer." Iran smiled but shook her head. "Wait for the storm to pass, then come and see Big Brother Shinfallen." He had no choice but to nod. He nodded. He watched her stand up. I still looked a little tired. Ra walked forward to support her. "He completely stepped on you and betrayed Elendinrin gently." But there was a hint of a smile in her eyes. Finally, she eased the tension in her heart and said softly, "Big brother, don't try to persuade me like this next time." "Okay, I promise you." Oh, Machine Feng nodded seriously. The morning breeze outside the courtyard was cool, and Anren's steps were a little light when she left, watching her back. Gradually disappearing, Chun Fen slumped a little. "Of course, she is still very stubborn, but this is Ian and I love him." He laughed and returned to the room. At this moment, he was surprisingly calm. Perhaps it was due to emotional release, or perhaps it was due to the power flowing inside him. Quietly, he sat cross-legged on the sofa, practicing the essence swallowing technique. As the technique progressed, the Duchi slowly flowed into him. He quickly pulled the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into his body. A powerful energy flowed through his meridians. Reviving his entire being, the rhythm of his cultivation became more intense than ever. It seemed like today was a good time. Chun Feng